I don't like the setting. This one is much better. Hello. All right.
Hello.
Let's see what it looks like. Okay, there we go. Now we are live. We are live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. We're live on TikTok. This is Love Yourself First conference, the second annual virtual conference. Join us for some really great, wonderful conversation. But I'm gonna pass this off to somebody who's near and dear to me. Please, Corey May, storyteller, professional speaker. Say a few words about me.
Welcome. Thanks, everybody. And most importantly, thanks to Coach Lee Hopkins. You get to find out who he is because I get to tell you that. So here we go. Coach Lee Hopkins is an expert in helping people build more fulfilling social connections in both their personal and professional lives. Whether you're looking to expand your social circle or build deeper connections with those around you, he believes that authenticity is the key to success. By embracing one's true self and learning to communicate from a place of honesty and vulnerability, you can form the kinds of connections that will enrich your life and bring you joy. That is Coach Lee Hopkins. Welcome, everybody.
Applause, 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 applause. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I am Coach Lee, social connections coach. I help people make more meaningful connections in their personal and professional life, and all the things that Corey has said about me. And what we're doing here today is talking about the Love Yourself First conference. We're talking about loving yourself first, and the reason why we're doing this is because self love is very, very important. A lot of us don't understand what it means to love ourselves, including me. When I was starting on my journey of self discovery, understanding more about me and who I am and what I'm looking for in life, I had to spend time by myself to discover who I am. And we're going to talk about all of that and making meaningful connections. This is the very, very, very first step to making connections with other people. It's the understanding of yourself. And, when I was growing up, so many people had said, well, you just have to love yourself and you just have to treat yourself right. And you can't let people bully you or mistreat you. You have to set boundaries. You have to love yourself first. But they really didn't know. They really couldn't tell me, rather, how to do it. Like, how do I love myself first? They put me out there in this world saying that you just have to do this one thing. And then no one could tell me exactly what it was that I needed to do to make those meaningful connections or to love myself. They just said, that's it. Just it's as simple as pie. And to me, I thought, well, shoot, that's unfair. That's not right. It seems like everybody else knows how to do it, right? Everybody else is having these relationships. They have these connections. They have these friends that they kiki it up. They're like, oh yeah, invite people to slumber parties and hang out with them outside of school and hang out with people outside of work. But when it came to me, I was just like, I don't know how to do that, and nobody wants to tell me. Nobody wants to tell me how to do it. So I felt like a real dummy. Everybody just said it's very, very simple. This is simple, very, very simple. Just do it. It's not. It's not. So if you're in that position, this is the spot for you. If you're in that position, you're going to learn a whole lot today. Today, we're going to go for 3 hours, which is going to be really amazing. You're going to hear from some fantastic speakers. We have a panel discussion lined up for you today. Our first panel discussion is with some amazing life coaches who've gone through this journey to love themselves and to connect with themselves as well as connect with others. So we're going to hear from them and our panel discussion. We're also going to talk about physical wellness because loving yourself is everything associated with you, your body, spiritually, mentally, physically. So we're going to have a life coach here to tell us about exactly how to do that, like maintaining healthy body through exercise, diet, rest, all those things. That includes loving yourself. So stick around for that. And then we also have social wellness. So we have our coach, or she's um, a consultant, a friendship consultant that's actually going to be here to talk about how you can make better connections adjacent to what I do, but loving yourself is part of that. So making those friendships and meaningful connections is one of the things that she'll talk about. Give you some practical, actionable tips because that's what we're here for today. And Finally, to wrap it up, we do have emotional wellness. We're going to talk about managing and understanding emotions for the overall well-being, the mental well-being. So you want to stay around and watch this live. Comment. I can see you. We're live on TikTok. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. You might want to go check us out on YouTube because we're streaming there. It's a lot easier to see if you're watching us on. Can you show that for us? Can you show the address for us? If you might want to watch us on YouTube because it's a lot easier for you to see us there. So we're streaming live on YouTube. Make sure to go watch us. Check us out. Patterns of Possibilities / streams. You can find us there. All right. Without further ado, I see you coming in. I see you coming in the room. Don't worry if you got questions. We've got answers for you. With that said, I'd like to start this off by inviting up our guests. We have our speakers here today. Wonderful. Everybody's here. So Ariel Hoffman, our first speaker is going to be Ariel Hoffman. Oops.
Hi.
Ariel Hoffman, who is the founder of Hoffman Wellness, which is on a mission to change the way people, especially women, view and treat their bodies and themselves. She aims to help people achieve all-day energy and strong, capable bodies so that they can succeed and perform their best without self-sacrifice. That's really important to know, without self-sacrifice. All right, April Yee. Welcome April Yee to the stage. April Yee is a holistic life coach focused on transformative self-care practices for professionals and from self-care for professionals and anyone who wants to be more fully engaged within their lives. Okay. Finally, we have Natalie LaBonte. Natalie LaBonte is a divine feminist priestess and sacred space designer. Natalie is devoted to helping humanity activate their sovereign dignity by walking the way of beauty, which honors the beauty and interconnectedness between all life. Welcome everybody to the stage. Give you some quick applause. Hold this applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for showing up today. We're so excited to have our conversation with you. So the first question that I have, I'm going to be bouncing this around because we're going to have a panel discussion. We're going to talk for a few minutes. I want to know what it means for you to love yourself first. What does it mean to love yourself first? And I'm going to direct this at Ariel.
That's such a good question. Well, loving yourself first, in my eyes, is really about being grateful for this mind and body that we have before wanting to change anything, before wanting to help others. It's really about owning your whole self and appreciating it and appreciating what we can do as humans. I just actually had my second baby, and just there's nothing like going through that to really have gratitude for what the body does and the mind. I mean, it's a process. And, I've been through injuries. I've had, some life challenges come up in my life as well, where getting internal and realizing that not only I have to love myself first, but I'm the only one who can take care of me. Like, no one's going to take care of you in the ways that you really need except you. So it's important not to wait for others to do that for you. It has to come from inside you.
Absolutely. It certainly does. And I certainly believe that too, as love yourself first from inside. Well, most of us, or many of us, for many years, I've been trying to find love outside of myself. And I'm sure you all can understand and relate to that story. Natalie, tell us about your experience. What do you think love yourself first means?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I was really sitting and reflecting with this earlier. And one thing that arose was it helps to just bring peace within. So I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but I know for me, I really on my journey to just awakening and getting to know myself better, I would find the inner Punisher would come up. And it's
Mm.
really interesting when we're on that journey of self-discovery, how it can kind of turn into this lens of like when you start breaking through certain beliefs and patterns and almost holding yourself like your ego structure shifts with that, where then you start to think, oh, I can't like make mistakes. I have to be perfect in some
Mhm.
way. And so I actually went through a time when I was in corporate where, gosh, at the end of the day, I just would go right in on myself and think of all the ways I could have done better. And as time has gone on, I've learned that you must have peace within yourself, because when we're divided against ourselves, like the house cannot stand. And
Absolutely.
so I really focused on cultivating that loving self-talk, that mindful self-compassion, where I can be my best friend and not have to hold this standard, this like imaginary standard that really no one else is holding me towards, and instead give myself grace, the grace that I'm willing to give others so easily and so readily.
Yeah. I'm so nice to other people, and I just can't stand myself. It's nice to be a friend to ourselves. It feels
Right?
weird. It feels weird at first. It's like,
Mhm.
wow. April, can you tell us about your experience? What does it mean to love yourself first?
Yeah, I can so relate to what Ariel said and what Natalie said, and I agree with so much of that. And I think the way that, Lee, when you were saying, like, what do you do to love yourself? Like, self-love and loving yourself seems like so aspirational and so nebulous in some way. And so one of the things that that was really tangible for me to do was some mirror work. And that was first to say thank you to myself while looking myself in the eyes in the mirror. And then it was to, once I got comfortable with that, then it was to say, I love you to myself. And that actually felt super uncomfortable for me the first several times I did it, because I was like, it doesn't feel like true or right. But then it eventually did start to evolve to feel true and right. And now it's like I'm able to tell myself I love myself all the time. And I really learned how to embrace that through connecting to my body by listening to it and honoring it. I think in our society, we're told to disregard our bodies and just like push through exhaustion and pain and show up and do the thing anyway. So I really
Mhm.
had to reconnect to my body and understand its signals and really listen to it. And also how to learn how to set boundaries for myself and my life. And then also being kinder to myself. And it's like, speaking words of compassion, giving myself grace, like what Natalie said, and really like having my own back. And this is what Ariel and Natalie both kind of pointed to. It's like, we're responsible for ourselves. We can't expect someone else to save us from our lives. Like, we get to create our lives and save ourselves from our lives and be responsible for that. And I think that is like really like having my own back. So if I make a decision, like even if it's the wrong one, I still have my back, because it's like I'm learning something from whatever decision I made, even if it's not aligned with me at that moment, I'm learning. And so I think that also like the self-division, I think Natalie talked about, like being whole is also loving yourself too. And I learned the term self-division recently, but I think it's also related to like self-betrayal and self-abandonment, which I would do a lot in the past because I was so focused on trying to get love from outside of myself that I would go against myself when I was trying to do that. So
Absolutely.
now it's like there's a wholeness where I'm not dividing myself, and I'm not betraying myself, and I'm not abandoning myself. And so
Yeah.
those are those are the things that I've learned over time, and it's been a long process and a practice. It doesn't just happen overnight. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it can, but
You
it
know,
also just takes a lot of maintenance and sustained energy to love yourself.
I was gonna say, like, all the stuff that you were saying in my introduction about why I'm doing this in the first place is this idea that it's so simple, that it was taught to me or was told to me that loving yourself first is so simple, it's so easy. But as you talked about it as if it's a real journey. It takes time. There are lots of things to know in this experience. It's not just going to the mirror and saying, I love you, and then instantly feeling it. I made a
Mhm.
face when you said, I love you to yourself. Like, no, that's weird. That's weird. Who does that?
Mhm.
I don't even feel like that towards myself. And to continue putting myself through that discomfort, it has to be something that we are really intentionally focused on and trying to break away from the old patterns that we have. I really believe that loving yourself is just super intentional. And it's so easy to look at everybody else and just do what they do or not treat ourselves well, or believe that they can be the ones that save us, as you all mentioned. So with that said, I mean, what was this experience? What experience did you have? Because it sounds like you've gone through this journey and you weren't doing this loving yourself before. Can you pinpoint an experience that had happened to you that made you think, I can't do this anymore? Something has to give. It's different. Anybody want to jump in on that?
I will.
Go ahead.
I have so many thoughts with both with everything that's being said. Uh, and one of the things that's I think resonating is how difficult this is to love ourselves and to appreciate ourselves. And then when you ask why, I think a lot of it has to do with the society and the culture we live in. It's hustle culture, it's achieving culture. Like the more you do, the better you are, the more successful you are, until you literally burn out. And I don't know how old some of you are, but I think it can take time. You 20s, 30s, 40s, you start to evolve and realize, like, oh, I can't go like this anymore. A lot of us hit a breaking point. I had a breaking point when I had a life altering injury to my hip. Just brief background, I grew up as a figure skater and a ballet dancer. Then I moved to New York. I was a professional dancer, turned personal trainer, turned health coach. And there were different things that happened along the way that allowed me to kind of go on that path. But I will talk about the one that's brought me here to where I am now, which is a health coach. And in 2017, I had to undergo a hip surgery, and it was life altering because it made me realize what I had said before, that no one's going to take care of me except myself. It became very clear. And I lost a lot in that process. I lost job opportunities. I lost a business. I was a partner in a business. But at the end of the day, who's going to do that for you? So that was a really triggering point in my life. And not only that, I realized that I could help people in a more meaningful way. So before, where it was just mostly physical, now it's more holistic, and it's really teaching people how they can prioritize themselves. And I literally walk them through how to do it, because we've learned to not listen to our bodies for so long. So one of the things I do is I help people break free from diet culture. It's like all these fad diets, and people are like, I've tried this, and this, and I don't know what to do. And it's, well, let's go back to you. What are your needs? And we're going to go from there. You have to learn to listen to your own body and then respond accordingly. And I think that can cross over into a lot of things that you all are doing as well. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what other people's experiences was too. The hip injury, that's something that's changed you. What about you, April, Natalie?
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow, Lee, but I also had
Give
a
us a little
health,
teaser.
yeah, a health emergency. I had to have emergency open heart surgery. that saved my life. And since I'll be talking more about that tomorrow, there is one incident that came up for me when you asked that question, Lee. And there was this one night, I think it was back in 2019, and I had been dating someone who wasn't interested in a committed relationship, and I definitely was. And and this is also talking about like the self-division, self-betrayal, self-abandonment. It's like, even though I knew what I wanted a committed relationship with someone. I thought I needed to get it from this person. And so I kept seeing him, even though he was like pretty clear that he didn't want to be in a committed relationship. And so there was one night where we were supposed to see each other. And then at the last minute, he like canceled. And I was like so devastated by that, because I had been like looking forward to seeing him and spending time with him. And I was like laying in bed that night, still thinking about why am I in so much pain in this relationship? Why do I keep choosing it? And there was a voice that was like that said, why am I not good enough for you? And I thought I was talking to the guy, but then something revealed to me that it was like my higher part of myself that was talking to me. Like, why am I not good enough for you? And so when I recognized that, I was like, oh, that's me asking myself, why do I think I'm not good enough for me? And I've recognized over the years that when we think other people take away their love and acceptance from us, like if there's a friendship that falls apart, if there's a romantic relationship that doesn't last, then if I think that they take away their acceptance and love from me, then I take it away from myself too. So it's almost like a double whammy. Whereas now I'm like, okay, well, they might not want to be with me, but I still want to be with me.
Nice.
Like, I still love and accept myself, and I can hold on to that and carry it on to like the next relationship. So then, that idea of betrayal or abandonment, we can't really be abandoned by someone else if we are not abandoning ourselves.
Why, that's wonderful. I like that idea of being able to just not be so phased by the fact that they don't want to be with you because you want to be with you. That's very, very powerful there. Natalie, what
Oh
about
my
you and your
gosh.
experiences?
Yeah, so just hearing both of your experiences, April and Ariel, like my heart was just resonating so deeply, and I feel like there's like a core theme, because like Ariel, you're mentioning just of course how our society is structured in this way, to essentially like create conditions, like conditional love, not unconditional love. I'm only worthy of receiving love, giving love to myself, if whatever the situation may be, rather than being like, oh, I'm unconditionally worthy. And you really spoke to this, April, too, of recognizing, hey, I'm unconditionally worthy of my own love and acceptance. And so I'll share, for me, I really had that awakening, and it was when I left my corporate job to go into my business full time, and this is back at the end of 2020. And I remember I initially had this this thought process, and it was like this reckoning where I realized my worthiness was still tied up in like productivity, like I'm only worthy if I'm productive in some way. And I happened to start a leadership program probably about 6 months after I left my corporate job, and it was so eye-opening, because I started to see the ways I was absolutely placing conditions on my love. Like with what I shared before, how at the end of the day, if I thought I didn't handle a conversation well when I was, coaching someone on my team, or I thought, something just didn't go right, and I just would lay in on myself. But it wasn't until afterwards I even was out of that environment that I really got to reflect and be the observer and say, oh, this is what's been happening. This is how I've been holding back on myself. This is how I've been placing conditions on my love and my worthiness. And like you said, Coach Lee, it is like, it's a journey. It's one of those things where we do have to commit every moment of every day to say yes to loving ourselves again and again. But it's a get to that we are able to do that. And I think that's just like one of the most exciting parts of just being on this human journey, where we get to learn how to love ourselves over and over again.
I like that. We get to learn how to love ourselves over and over again. You know, I really do enjoy that, because it seems like such a chore. Like going through the whole process, like, oh man, looking in the mirror and saying those kind things to yourself, like, I don't deserve it. It feels weird. I don't like it. Uh I'd rather go back to this relationship that was terrible. Maybe I'll try one more time and things will be better. Maybe if I do something differently, like listen more intently to what they say and give them exactly what they want, then my relationship with them will be better, and then they will love me and I will feel good. And this is something that been has been something that's just played over and over and over with me in my life, in my relationships with other people. I would even move place to place to place, trying to find different people, thinking that, well, if I just do this, not changing anything about me, but maybe a different person, and getting caught in those patterns. And so, in my question for you all is related to this idea of getting to do this, because it's difficult work. It's annoying, it's frustrating. It doesn't feel like immediately that I'm making any changes. So what would you tell the people out there who are watching, the people out there who are listening, about how tough this experience is, giving them some insight to continue moving forward to this loving yourself process? What did you experience? What were some of the things, that the challenges that you experienced, rather, and that you were like, I'm going to go back, or maybe I won't? Because I used to go back to bad relationships over and over again, even after, my last, one of my last partners, they dumped me, and they said, well, they don't want to be with me. And I'm like, they were treating me horribly. Even if I look at the observer, we both had our pieces, our sides to the coin. But I was like, I want that. I don't know anything else but that. What would you tell to those people who are on this journey of, this is familiar, but they really need to be on this love yourself first path?
I read a book recently. It's called Energy Rising by Julia DeGangi, I think. And one of her things was to pick a more powerful pain. And what she means by that is, okay, like what you said, Lee, you were in a relationship that, wasn't great. You wanted to go back to it, though, because you know that person exists in the world. You know that relationship. You're familiar with that relationship, even though it was painful for you, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we go back to that, that's one pain, right? And but there's another pain that we could pick, and that's the pain of the uncertainty that we don't know our future partner exists. We can believe in our future partner, our future relationship, and that is scary. And so that feeling of fear could be the more powerful pain than the feeling of familiarity of this like pain that you already know. And so when we pick that more powerful pain, we're choosing something new that we're not aware of, or that we don't know exists yet, but we're willing to like almost bet on ourselves and say like, hey, like I'm going to believe in what's possible for me, even though I'm not sure, and just like go out there and, find something else that might be even more aligned with you than going back to something just because it's familiar. So it's like picking the unfamiliar, the uncertain, over the familiar and certain that is still painful. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I know the devil I do know is better than the devil I don't. I think that was the saying that I've heard back in the day. So I'm familiar with all the things that are going to happen in this relationship with
Yeah.
these people, and I'm terrified. It's more terrifying to not know, and to not face that, because we don't. I believe this. We just don't have the tools to deal with that not knowingness, and the pain is great, as you said. And so, uh, pick the choose your own adventure. Pick the pain that I think that one of the things that happened for me is just I got tired of having the same thing over and over again, just the same experience over and over again. It's like, okay, well, there's got to be something different. There's got to be something that I can do, or people that are different. And it started to change my life when I started to think that way. Like, there is a new possibility, and being afraid of the unknown is comfortable. I mean, it's uncomfortable, but it's okay. It's okay to go face that. It's okay to go face that.
Yeah. So piggybacking off of all of that, every time we experience something we don't want, it's nice to be like, okay, we don't want that. And we do get closer to what we do want. And I think it's really important when things like that do happen to really question yourself as to, what do I really want? And I think we trick ourselves into thinking we might want this thing over here, but maybe that's something we heard about, or we think that that's the norm, or, it's not, we don't get a lot of opportunities to really sit with ourselves and say, what do I really want? Because when you're able to answer that question, the thing that keeps repeating in the past becomes really easy to, one, spot from a mile away if it's happening again, and two, now you're mapping your brain to get to that GPS point that you do want. And I use that analogy because there's a lot of research out there on neuroscience saying that your brain acts as a GPS. So if you give it a location, it's going to map out directions on how to get there. So, one of the things I'm working on still is, okay, if you tell yourself you don't want something, your brain will, if you keep telling yourself that, it's still going to map some type of way of getting there. And then you're like, oh, I'm here again. Mm-hmm. So it's an exercise, and you get opportunities to keep practicing that exercise over and over again. Like I said, I'm doing that myself. And then the other side of that is really feeling what that thing is when you do have it, and actually feeling it like it already exists. I think that's a really fun thing to do, and it's very difficult. Again, I work with people via nutrition and exercise and behavior. So, a lot of my work is revolved around that. But when I ask people about their health goals, what do you think the first thing they usually say is? I want to lose weight, is usually the first thing. Give me a number, right? I want to lose 20 pounds. And with my coaching, and I get them to think, okay, well, what do I really want to feel like? And then that's how we get there. And the byproduct of our work together and getting them there is they end up losing weight. But again, the attention gets veered away from that, and it's more about what the thing they do want. And that's how we map it.
Yeah, there's some kind of bigger reason behind just losing the weight. I want to lose weight so that I can what? So that I can what? So that I can. And we aren't taught to do that kind of self-reflection either. We go out into the world and we bump into a bunch of things, and then we figure out, oh, this is what I don't want. This is what I do want. And it takes even more time to be able to see, like, well, I'm not sure what I want. Can I sit down and figure that out? And that's why you all exist. That's why we all exist, to help each other understand those pieces. And there's a comment here from Kara Jean that says, what a brilliant group of humans coming to share with us. Thank you for the Love Yourself First conference. Brilliant, capitalized. Some really great sage advice and information you're sharing out here. So another comment from Teresa says, oh, wow, why am I not good enough? Is that something we all have to answer to figure it out? Why am I not good enough? And it is really, why am I not good enough for who? For me? What programming, this is the language that I use to describe it, what programming did you receive that said that you weren't good enough for anything or anybody? and processing that, getting rid of that, changing it, creating new programming, creating that GPS, essentially figuring out where you want to go, where you want to be, getting you to those places. So we have just about 5 minutes left. And I want to give you all an opportunity to share something about you. Maybe you are also speaking later on in the summit or this conference, and you want to share that. Maybe you want to direct someone to your website or information. But I'd love for you to give us one final thought, and then we'll move on to our next speaker. So I'm going to start with Natalie.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been such an incredible panel. Like the wealth of wisdom just being expressed is unbelievable. And I'm finding that there's so many beautiful threads that are going to be arising when I do my presentation on Sunday, because I'm a divine feminine priestess, and then I'm also a feng shui designer. So I really love working with people, helping to embody their sovereign divinity and honor and recognize the connection between mind, body, spirit, and space. But one thing that we're really going to be diving into is actually worthiness. On my presentation on Sunday, I've been on this journey for quite some time, and I will tell you, it truly is continuously showing up to the different layers that were arising. This past year, I became completely conscious to this layer of unworthiness that was operating in my life that I had no conscious awareness of. And it was kind of a wild way of how it came about. But we're going to dive into that. And I'm really excited to, because I think there's so much there as we're all exploring together of really
Yes.
reclaiming our worthiness.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that too. Spirit and space, the connection between those two. April.
Yeah, thank you. This has been I love this. I love this conversation. I love hearing what everyone has shared. And there's a Brene Brown quote where she says, here's what is true about the heart of wholeheartedness. Worthy now, not if, not when. We are worthy of love and belonging now, right this minute, as is. And, similar to Natalie, like a lot of the work that I do, I have an 8-week program called Get Out of Your Way and Get What You Want. And that has a lot to do with believing that we are already worthy, how we get in our own way, but by not believing that we're worthy or good enough or valuable, and how that affects the decisions that we make. And so we'll be looking at the decisions that have led to the current state of your being and how you may have gotten in your own way. And we'll learn how to have new beliefs, new thoughts, new ways of looking at things so that you can get out of your way and get what you do want.
Yes, very powerful. Get out of your own way and get what it is that you want. Ariel, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I love that, April, by the way, and Natalie as well. I'll also be speaking tomorrow. I'll be taking people through a little interactive exercise that has to do with learning to prioritize your time in terms of fitting in consistent workouts and proper nutrition. So fueling yourself with proper nutrition. That comes out of my program. It's called Eat and Exercise for Women. I also call it E² for Women. I really focus on the female boss to get them into peak performance shape, whether that's physically, mentally, and nutritionally, and to really help people get that long-lasting energy that we all want, right? But in the process, learning to honor your body, learning to honor your body as a woman, because we have different physiology. So tomorrow's gonna be really fun because I'm gonna take you through one of my techniques, and it might surprise people, I think. So
yes,
it'll be fun.
Oh, fantastic information. Mind, body, spirit, emotionally, physically, mentally, all of it is connected. All of it is about loving yourself first. Big round of applause for all of you. Big round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You.
We'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you all. Thank you, Lee.
Thanks all.
All right, wonderful. And we're running right on time. This is fantastic. May communicate to me through Google and not here, just so that, because sometimes it pops up. Let's welcome our next speaker. Our next speaker is, let's see, pop. Oh, look, I popped it up. There we go. Oh, our next speaker is Diane Amelia Read. Diane's personal mission is to help people achieve their goals and
Hello,
enjoy a
hello.
healthy, happy. Uh, Diane's personal mission is to help people achieve their goals and enjoy a healthy and happy, fulfilling life, so we can connect more authentically and together make the world a more loving and interdependent place. Diane Amelia battled bulimia for 16 years, bearing the emotional load and consequences of that eating disorder. She also suffered so severely from softening and inflammation of the kneecap, called CMP, that she thought that she might never walk again without excruciating pain. With determination, Diane Amelia worked hard to understand and overcome emotional and physical struggles. And she wants to help you do the same. Please welcome Diane Amelia Read. Applause.
Hello, hello, and thank you for being here. I've been buffering a little, so I hope this goes well. Lee, there it is. Okay, and here we go. I'm gonna open this now. And we are going to talk about 3 things body through exercise. Exercise, nutrition, and rest, mind and body. Body. And the first, and that's a well-known reason why that's generally good for us. But here's one you might not know. Yes, it's great for your heart. It's great for your muscles. It's great for your core, supporting your spine. But it's critical to your immune system. And that's interesting. Okay, here we go again. Not sure why that happened. Your heart serves as the pump for sending your blood around your body. But your lymphatic system, that does the really important job of removing waste like bacteria, viruses, toxins, abnormal cells, your lymphatic system is essentially heartless, and it relies on movement and muscle contraction to make the lymph fluid flow. So literally every step you take helps support your lymphatic system, helps your lymphatic system do your immunity. So Now, pop quiz, if this is possible. How much is enough? I'd love to know what people think, although I can't see the chat with my screen presenting. But pop it in the chat. Is it 1 hour a day? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 15? I can minimize that for a second just to see if anybody pops in with a thought.
Are you trying to share your screen? Are you trying to share your screen? Because it's not showing.
At all?
Yeah, it's not showing at all. That's probably the screen that you want to share with us, but it's dark.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Because on my side, it says it's sharing and it's inviting me to stop sharing. So I'm not sure what's going on, but
Perhaps you're sharing
tell me,
the
can
different tab.
you,
I can't see what you're sharing. Maybe you're sharing the different tab or something like that. Try resharing again,
and I don't know why it's popping.
just for the sake of it.
Can you see that? Where it says, oh, pop quiz?
No, this is what we see.
So you're not seeing where it says, oh, pop quiz?
No, can you see the screen here for us? It's black.
You know what? I'm going to
Can you try reshare? Is you going to stop sharing and
sharing. Okay, so I've stopped sharing. And once again,
Okay.
I'm invited to share screen.
Okay, make sure that you're sharing the correct tab, not just any screen, but the correct tab. Okay.
Yeah.
Then boom, there we go. It's dark for us.
Okay.
There we go.
It's dark for you, and it's showing for me.
No, it's showing for us now. It's showing for us now, but it's not showing in presentation mode.
Yeah.
Can you see the conference screen? This is what we see on the conference side. We see everything in the Canva.
Well,
We can go
try
ahead without this if it's.
I think we're gonna have to.
You might try presenting. Go into present mode,
Yeah,
and then when you
I'm
share,
clicking on that like
share your
crazy,
presenters.
and it's. I don't. Yeah.
No worries. No worries. You can do fine without the presentation. All this stuff is life experience.
Yep. Oh, interesting. Okay. So did you hear
I think the problem is that you're not sharing the presentation mode,
anything that I was
or maybe your internet's running really slow.
saying about the lymphatic system?
Okay.
Did you hear anything that I said about the lymphatic system?
No, sorry. Please go ahead. Okay, so now you're back on. I can see you and you're visible to
Okay,
us.
that's great. And you're not buffering on my side, so I'm taking this all as a good sign. And I'm just going to skip any visual presentation and just talk about the three things that I wanted to talk about in the first place.
All
So
right.
I was asking, did you hear anything about what I was saying about the lymphatic system? I can just repeat that. Three things to keep a body healthy, three takeaway tips. We know exercise, we hear about that, how it's important for the heart, how it strengthens muscles, how the core supports the spine. But one thing you might not know, and one more reason to make exercise a consistent part of your life, is that it's great for your immune system. In fact, it's not only great, it's critical, because unlike your blood, which courses through your body and has a heart as the pump, your lymphatic system, which is super important to immunity, relies on motion, relies on muscle contraction, relies on movement for lymphatic fluid to course through your body. So without that, it's not working for you. So that is one other reason to get moving. So maybe you're already somebody with a super great exercise routine, and you may be on the total opposite end of the spectrum going, exercise, yuck. But let's talk about what is really, like, bottom line critical. For every hour of sedentary activity, so that means, an hour into your Netflix movie, hit pause and get up and move for 2.5 minutes. Now, this doesn't have to be huge aerobic activity, but it does mean movement. So, play with your dog for 2.5 minutes, or take a little power walk, around your condo or your house, outdoors and back. Just get some motion happening. And that will have the trickle out effect of not only boosting your heart rate and your muscle engagement, it's going to help you ward off bacteria, viruses. It's going to slough off dead and abnormal cells. It's critical. So exercise for a healthy body, beyond all the obvious, is super important for a healthy body because it supports your immune system. So that's number one. Number two, food and drink. Food actually has a job, and the job of food is to fuel your body. So if you think about your body as this beautiful car that we drive around in, you have the choice of what you put in the tank. And if you put sludge in the tank, you're going to get a sputtering engine. And if you put nice fuel in the tank, you're going to have a smooth ride. So putting good food into your system is critical. Now, life is just too short to skip yumminess. So plan your meals around healthy food. But of course, don't limit yourself. Think about, and you'll enjoy this word, as you're thinking about how to either achieve or maintain a healthy weight, think about this: Dinteo. Ask yourself the question, Dinteo? And Dinteo, which is Dinteo, question mark, stands for, do I need this eating opportunity? This is a great question to ask, particularly if you work in a group setting where somebody's always got a jar of candy on their desk. Here's a great example. Let's say somebody brings in cupcakes every week. Dinteo. Do I need that eating opportunity today, right now? Maybe not. Maybe just, you know what? I'll catch that tray of cupcakes next week. Now, if this is somebody that you know who is an awesome baker and only brings cupcakes in once a year, you eat that bad boy. You know, like we would say in the Midwest, like a turkey on a June bug. Just gobble that thing up. But if it's just because it's there, ask yourself, Dinteo, do I need this eating opportunity? And if the answer is no, if you're legit not hungry, pass it by and know you're going to be okay. Know you're going to be the better for it. Now, the flip side of food and drink, we've talked about food. And by the way, healthy bodies are really made mostly in the kitchen. So those decisions are super important. The other thing is hydration. And I'm because I don't have my slides, I'm going to go to this incredible list here. Everyone says, yes, you need to drink water. And well, why? Why? I'm not thirsty. I'm not really doing anything. I'm not exercising. I'm not working outside. Here is the thing. Our bodies are about 60% water. And get this, we lose every day about 10 cups of water just from breathing. Little droplets of water when we breathe out, and from eliminating, from perspiration, we lose a lot of water every day. Now, we also need that water. Our body is using water 24/7. And I'm going to share this list with you. Here's what's happening. Like right now, while you're watching this, while I'm speaking, you're listening, your body is using that water to dissolve minerals and break them down so your body can absorb them. The water is also helping those minerals plus oxygen get out to your entire system. It is improving your cognitive function. It is helping with memory. It is keeping your mouth, your nose, your eyes moist. And as someone who's been a contact lens wearer, I know how important that is. Water is regulating your body temperature. And I live in Mexico, so I'm regulating a lot. And so I drink even extra here because I want to stay cool. It's regenerating your skin. You're popping little skin cells even while you're sitting there. It's protecting your tissues, your spinal cord. It's supporting your joints. And it's taking a load off your kidneys and liver by eliminating waste. So going back to you watching your Netflix movie, while you're sitting there, your body is using water, doing all of those things. So you need it. But how much is enough? Now, there's a rule of thumb that says you want about half in ounces of your body weight. So math time. Let's say you weigh 160 pounds. So half of that is 80. So you would want to take in 80 ounces of water a day. And 8 ounces to a cup, you're thinking, holy cow, that is 10 cups of water a day. That's actually the amount on average that we lose. So yeah, you want that. Now, the easiest way to do that, if it feels overwhelming, is to have a plan. This is the plan that works for me. When I wake up, I know I haven't had any water for probably 7 hours. So I have 8 ounces right off the bat. I literally go to bed at night thinking, I cannot wait to wake up and drink coffee. I love coffee. But before I have my coffee, I have my 8 ounces of water. Then I have 16 ounces, 2 cups before every meal. And that, again, math. So that's my 8 ounces and then 16 ounces 3 times. Okay, that's 56 ounces out of my 80 right there. Having a plan helps me really take a bite out of my big 80-ounce water number. Now, the other thing that is cool is you don't have to drink it all. You get water from fruits and vegetables. The greener and the green and raw vegetables really help with water. Fruit, definitely big on water. Watermelon, that's like the mother lode of water. But when you are calculating those 80 ounces, you don't have to think, I've got to just chug all this water, because the fruits and vegetables that you eat will help you down that path. So we know exercise, supporting our immune system, is one way to stay healthy. Food and water, Dinteo, and getting your appropriate ounces. Then the third thing is rest, and that's rest for the body and rest for the mind. So rest for the body, 7 to 8 hours for most adults is recommended. Also, having a set bed and wake time is really something that helps your body regulate and rest. So you're thinking, even on, when it's not a work day and I want to catch up. Well, for one thing, if you're needing to catch up on rest, you might want to look at what you're doing during the week to see if you can get even 15 minutes extra of sleep per night, so that you're not having to power sleep on the weekend to catch up with yourself. That's one thing. Also, if you go to bed and 20 minutes later, you're still not asleep, get out the bed. Go in another room, do something that for you is relaxing. And when you're drowsy, get back in the bed. Now, maybe that's listening to music. Maybe that's just doing something else that rests your mind, which is meditating. And meditating is not a lot of bells and whistles are necessary for meditating. The quickest way to really get a good meditation is 1 minute. Set your timer, close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that, and then focus your attention right here. Just focus on your breath. Think in, and notice the cooler nature of the air going into your nostrils. And then exhale. Oh, it's warmer. And that's all you have to think about. Air in, air out for 1 minute. That's a meditation. That's a quick 1 minute meditation. Now, your brain, the job of your brain is to think, and thoughts happen. They're how we jam. So if you can, use the word detach. When a thought comes through, just think detach and return your attention to the tip of your nose. So that is a very quick run through ways to stay healthy through exercise, nutrition, and rest. And I would love to hear any questions. I know we went right through that, but yeah, I'm here for your questions.
Yeah, wonderful presentation. I want to give you applause for that. Applause.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Fantastic. We had a bit of a hiccup at the very beginning, but after that, I mean, you know all the stuff off the top of your head, so it's pretty easy to just share it with us. And I really like that a personal touch too. And as you said, drinking water, I got my water. I went to get some water because it's so filling, hydrating. Yes, gotta hydrate. Even, talking as much as I do, I gotta hydrate because if you breathe it out, and when you're talking, it's all gonna go out.
That's right.
So I appreciate that you shared some of the things that you can do for resting. You wouldn't for 20 minutes, if you're not asleep, get out of bed and go do something else. You wouldn't recommend that I look at my phone, right? Or
I
anything.
so would not. No, I mean,
Don't do that.
There's the rabbit hole can go down the second you pick up your phone. And also there's the whole blue light screen thing that just is counter to a good night's sleep.
Hmm. So then, I know that you're a coach and you've
Teresa,
had such, life experiences. You've had so many experiences with so many. Oh, Teresa got their water too.
yeah,
So you had so many life experiences with, health, and that's how you develop these plans. Can you tell us a bit about what you do? You have an offer for our audience today?
I do. I have, it's funny, I mentioned Netflix because the platform that I work with, I've nicknamed Sweatflix because it kind of operates like Netflix, where all the tools that I use stream, all the tools that the folks in my community use stream, whether that is for exercise or for developing a healthy eating plan or for personal growth masterminds. We use these tools and then we meet in my private app for accountability and for support. And I've got women across the US and across Canada, and occasionally some folks from the UK. And none of us are going for the Olympics. Most of us are north of 50. And we are just wanting to keep our mind and body tuned up so that we are fully energized to live our lives right through to our last breath, hopefully a very, very long time from now.
Right. So that's what you do for the coaching services. You help people that you said north of 50, but anyone can actually learn and do these exercises, right? You have a
Oh,
special offer
absolutely.
that's for us. And so I have it down here
Oh,
on the screen. If you'd like to, she's going to explain what the offer is. If you'd like to take advantage of it, all you need to do is scan the QR code and scroll all the way down to the bottom of her website and send her an email telling her that you saw this here at the Love Yourself First conference, and she'll honor that offer. And also, if you are not quite sure with what the offers are, again, if you missed the QR code, there's one up here at the top of the screen, the swag bag offers. Just go ahead and scan that. It's going to show you all of the offers that we have here from all of our amazing speakers. So if you want to work with them, all you need to do is scan that QR code. And if you want to work with Diane Amelia Read, scan this QR code right here. And then I'm going to stop talking and drink water, and she's going to tell you more stuff.
so the range of exercises that is on my Sweatflix platform, there are more than 100. They are from beginner to I want to compete and get just cut. They are 20 minutes a day or 90 minutes. Everything is customizable, and I work one-on-one with each and every person and support you for the year of your annual membership to help you move toward your goals, help you maintain consistency, help you learn things like Denteo and other great little mindset shifts. We're not going for anything dramatic. We are shifting into healthy lifestyle. There are many ways to participate price-wise in my group, but by far the most popular package is $219. That's for the year. Again, my one-on-one support, access to my accountability and support community, and all the tools. But for those who send a Love Yourself First message to me, we'll talk about your goals and I will extend to you a $40 off code. So that $219 annual package becomes $179.
All
So
right.
personal
Thank you so
partner
much.
plus a community, all the tools.
Thank you so much, Diane. Again, round of applause. Go ahead and take advantage of that offer. Take advantage of the offer. Thank you.
Coach,
All right. I am excited to keep this moving along. Aren't you? I'm excited. I can't hear you. Woo! Because you're all virtual. That's why I can't hear you. But feel free to drop something in the chat. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, feel free to share all of them. Our next speaker, I'm very excited and delighted to share with you our next speaker. Um, our next speaker. Our next speaker is Anika Allen. Anika Allen is a friendship consultant and founder of the 5-Star Friendships. Her mission is to improve lives one friendship at a time. Sounds familiar. 5-Star Friendships provides easy step-by-step guidance on how to make new friends or upgrade your relationship with current ones. From a young age, Anika has had a desire to help others connect, starting with friends on her block. Now, over the years, it became clear that social connections are life-changing. She has spent hundreds of hours researching this topic and is excited to share that information with us today. Please welcome Anika Allen.
Hello. I love the little applause soundtrack. That's awesome. Can you hear me okay? Am I coming through clearly?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me. As Coach Lee said, my name is Anika. I am a friendship consultant and I am the founder of 5-Star Friendships. Now, a question I get asked often is, what is a friendship consultant? So if any of you were thinking of that, you can put it in the chat. I'm going to answer that. It's just like it sounds. I consult because I do lots of research around social connection with people in 2 categories: those who have trouble making friends, and that can be for a myriad of different reasons, right? It doesn't have to be that you are on the spectrum, quote unquote, but I do have people I work with who are neurodivergent. You could just be a little bit shy, a little more on the introverted side. You might have had a life change where you moved to a new area. Could be military, a new job. Maybe you had a baby or got married and you are having trouble finding other like-minded friends who can relate to what you're going through. When I became an entrepreneur, I had to find some new friends who were also entrepreneurs. So I work with people in that category to help them connect and make friends. The second category of people I work with are people who already have friends, but they're not really using their friendships to their fullest potential. What do I mean? I mean, we are not using our friends as our true accountability partners. And so we have friends where we hang out with, we celebrate their birthdays, we go to brunch or watch a game. Super Bowl weekend is here. But when it comes to our health goals, our financial goals, our spiritual and our emotional issues, we can be doing things with our friends outside of the box that help us reach the next level. So I help you either gain friends or maintain friends. And so what I'm going to be talking about today is specifically friendships in the workplace. Let me know in the chat how many of you have friends at work. And yes, Diane is saying it's very important to have friends who have similar goals. Yes. Are you an entrepreneur, Diane? Or like I said, you could be a new parent and you are struggling with potty training or puberty, and you just need somebody else who can relate, who you can talk to, and everything that you research online, first of all, isn't true. But secondly, sometimes the face-to-face is a lot better. And so what I have learned around friendship and social interaction is that it is the number one, and I'm saying number one factor in determining your long-term happiness. Harvard University has the longest running study on happiness, over 70 years now. And what they learned is that it's not your income, it's not where you live, your title, or anything like that in the end that determines how happy and fulfilled your life is. It's social connection. How many people are you friends with? How many people you have in your life who care about you? Are you connected to your community? Those are the things that make life most fulfilling. So I got so excited to do a lot of research in that area. But there's a whole nother side when it comes to the workplace that is extremely important. And people think friendships, you think outside of the workplace. I know for me personally, I feel like I had to have 2 different personas, right? There's home Anika, and then there's work Anika. And please raise your hand if you can relate to having to switch it up a little bit. We know that we're not our 100% selves at the work environment, right? That can get you fired. But we can be a little more authentic and more intentional about making friends, because there are lots of benefits to doing so. And there are lots of studies that have been done around the workplace environment. So I'm not sure how many of you watching are entrepreneurs, employers, or how many are employees. So I'm going to address both. So for employers, there's countless studies out there showing that if you encourage and promote social connection at work, it increases your bottom line, whether it's decreasing costs because people are working more efficiently, or increasing revenue because they're more excited to come to work. I actually had, this was maybe a few weeks ago, I was at Target, and I was just in line to return something, and I get to the front. The cashier looks like she's fresh out of puberty. It's a young girl, and she didn't have the best attitude. She just was kind of, yes, can I help you? Whatever, not even a good morning, good afternoon. And this is no disrespect to Target, because I love Target. But it was just this worker in particular. She wasn't being nasty to me, but she wasn't being overly friendly either. And then in the middle of the transaction, another employee comes in. She passes behind her, kind of taps her on the shoulder to let her know, hey, I'm here. And she looks over and she sees what I can only assume is her friend at work. And her whole demeanor changes. She lights up. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that or seen that when your friend is around you. It energizes you. And she had a much more pleasant disposition with me just because she saw her friend had gotten to work. And turns out that it's about 30% of the people in the US have a BFF, or a bestie at work. And the research shows it makes those people more loyal because, they have a friend. They look forward to going to work. They are more engaged, and that's more beneficial for the company. And so I personally experienced it, and I don't know if that's something that you were aware of as an employer. There's another study that was done with a call center, huge insurance company. Sean, he's a happiness researcher. He does a lot of this, but he's specifically going around to workplaces, letting employers know that if you foster social connection at work, it is beneficial from a profitability perspective, and your employees are happier. And so they took the lowest performing shift at this call center. Anybody ever work at a call center or do customer service? It's a grueling job. It's monotonous. You get timed when you're on the phone and off the phone. A lot of times you're mostly dealing with people complaining or having customer care issues. And so they took the worst performing shift at this call center, at this large insurance company. And all they did, they convinced management to say, can we allow 10 minutes a day for the employees to connect with another person? 10 minutes. I want them to talk about something that's not work related, their own life, how they're feeling. It could be good, bad, or ugly. And the results, as you can imagine, were very favorable. The more that they had those opportunities to connect with people, it reflected in their work, and their performance as a team shot up. And so that was all that company and other companies had to see or hear to start to see, I need to not just focus on the bottom line. Imagine if you sent your child, niece, nephew, if you're not a parent, to school, right? They are there to learn, to get an education, math, reading, spelling, etc. You send them there and you tell them before they leave, don't talk to anybody. You just go there, you pay attention to the teacher, and you get your work done and you come home. That would be ridiculous, right? So we don't tell students that. We know that the social interaction, in addition to the academics, is important. It actually is healthier for them emotionally. Well, just because we're not kids on the playground anymore doesn't mean that we shouldn't also have that same mindset. So for employers, employees are going to get the most out of their environment if they have something to look forward to, and if they feel like they can converse with other people. And so for those of you who actually are entrepreneurs, or maybe just even in sort of upper levels of management, and you have people who you supervise, it's important to know, obviously not where they're chit-chatting all day long and not doing their work. But the research shows if they have opportunities to connect, they relax and they feel better. And when you feel better, you perform better. The other thing that was important was what we call water cooler conversation. I'm not sure everybody has their own water bottles now, but it used to be, you kind of stand around this water cooler. Oxford University and has done studies. So has Indeed, the big job hunting search database. And they found that the water cooler conversations are beneficial. People who do that and they congregate for, a minimal amount of time, they exchange ideas. So if you're in the marketing department and you chit chat with somebody from the finance department, you are more likely to maybe get a spark of creativity, or they might tell you about something that's going on in finance that intersects with what you do. And so also, if you are more comfortable interacting and engaging with other employees, when you need help with something, you're more likely to ask for it than if you don't interact, because then you might be like, I don't really know these people. I don't want them to think that I'm not intelligent or that I don't have it under control. And you end up taking on a bigger burden. So there are a myriad of reasons, that's just a few, as to why managers, supervisors, employers, or entrepreneurs should definitely encourage a certain amount of time for socialization. And that could be, company picnics, retreats, opportunities for people to really get to know one another. Now, does anybody have any questions before I go on? Because I'm going to talk about this from the perspective of the employee now. All right, so far, so good. All right, so from the employee's perspective, think about how much time we spend at work, even if you are working from home, which a lot of people are doing. Here's a question right here, April. Just read about some of these tips. Oh, how would they, wait, I also read about some of these tips and see, how they could help and improve work cultures. Exactly. If you just Google or do any research that looks up social connection or socializing in work, you'll find so much information positively affirming what I'm saying. So getting back to, thank you, April, for commenting. Getting back to for employees, if you think about how much time you spend at work, whether it's on your sofa, with a headset on, or actually in an office or in the field, it's a lot of time. We have 24 hours in a day. You take a certain chunk of that just to sleep and to eat and to commute. And if you take, 6, 8, 10 hours, some people working 12-hour days, you spend a lot of time at work. And when you are frustrated at work, when you are not happy at work, when you don't feel like you have an outlet, what often happens? You end up taking that home. As soon as you get home, what you do is you unload. Guess what so-and-so did today? I can't believe she did this. Oh, my boss did this. And it ends up eroding or eating into your downtime. So if you try to focus on keeping work and your personal life so separate, it can be to your detriment, because what happens is if you're unhappy at work, if you don't have people you are connecting with, then you end up needing some way to vent or release that, and you do it at home. So now you are taking away quality time from a partner, from a spouse. I don't care if it's your dog, a pet, or your children, or maybe an elderly person you are taking care of. That is time that you could be spending with them, quality time, talking about good things versus having to vent. Not that there's anything wrong with venting, that's healthy and natural, but if you really don't have a healthy work environment where you enjoy the people you work with, it carries over into your home life. And so there are a lot of people who have been taught or conditioned that you don't mix business and pleasure. Don't tell those people about your business, right? Because you feel like it might be used against you. So that is true. You have to be careful who you let your guard down with, who you are vulnerable with. When I say make friends at work, it doesn't mean tell them all of your business, but it does mean it's important and it's advantageous or to your benefit to connect with people at work beyond just business content. And so if you do that, you will feel more relaxed, like that Target employee. When somebody shows up, you're like, hey, it might energize you if you have a long shift, if you have somebody you connect with. I personally met, one of my best friends in my adult life here at work. We used to chit chat, talk about things, and then you can get a vibe for a person once you see you can trust them with a little bit of information. You know, you go out to lunch, you can trust them with a little bit more information, and my life would be pretty empty if she wasn't in it. And I can go back all the way, probably since I finished grad school. I've had quite a few of my really good friends who I'm still close to this day, over the decades, who I met at work. So for those of you who sort of buy into that myth about keeping work and home separate, I hope I dispelled a little bit of that in terms of why it would be important for you to consider making some friends at work. And what does that mean, making friends? Because I know a lot of you dread, I'll say, networking, right? Oh, does that mean I have to go to happy hour with these people? I already spend 8-10 hours with them. Now I got to go after work. You don't have to go to everything, but it would be nice. And you might be surprised. Most people are, when you do take the time to hang out with someone after work, or maybe a coworker invites you to, you know, an event they're having, something they're doing at church. Maybe they're doing a fundraiser or something in their community. You are often, at least from my research, will be surprised at how good you feel. And it's really cool to learn something different about another person. And so when you see somebody in a work environment all the time, you know, they come off a certain way. And so if you are able to hang out with them after hours, you might get an opportunity to get, you know, a little peek into another side of them. And often what happens when you start to talk to people, and you can raise your hand if this has ever happened, the more you talk, you could be just talking to a stranger sitting while you're waiting for your table to be called at a restaurant, while you are in line at the DMV. The more that you share, you'll see that you have things in common. It happens to me all the time. So when I do go to after work events, and we try not to just talk about work, oftentimes they'll be sharing something. I'll go, oh, I had no idea you were really interested in that. You know, so am I. Or I just read a book about that. Oh, I'm in a book club. You want to join a book club? Like it just is a snowball effect. It happens time and time again. I can think about, if anybody has a story to share about socializing at work, and it can be positive or negative, please let me know. I share stories all the time. Thank you. I see Coach Lee is on top of things here with my information on the bottom of the screen. If you want to get more tips, I'm at 5starfriendships.org. That's FIVE. I also post daily tips on Facebook and on TikTok, and that is again at 5-Star Friendships. So that whether it's work related or personal life related, because often they do intersect, you can get, you know, reminders of this daily, because you guys are going to get so much great information over these next few days. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. Hopefully you have your notepads out. I'm a note taker myself. But if you happen to, you know, forget some things, or it's top of mind right now or for the next week, you know, and then life be lifing, as they say, you get back into the grind and you forget some things. If you follow me on TikTok or Facebook, it'll be a great reminder for you. And I love to share this research. And so you can get, I want to say, validation. That is not just my personal opinion. Oftentimes I am pulling from people who have done studies and have done this research. So you can feel a little more confident in terms of the information that I'm sharing with you. Getting back to networking and socializing with people after hours. I work in sales, and I had done a great job at a sales contest. We have them all the time. And what happens is you compete in your office. They pick the best person. It's a sales pitch typically, or some kind of presentation. And then if you do well in your office, you compete against others in your city. And then you do the region and the state, and it keeps going on. And so what happened is I had gotten to this level where I continued to outperform the others. And so we were at the final stages when it was 4 of us from the North, South, East, and West region. All the big wigs had come in to view the presentations. And I'll be honest, gotta pat myself on the back. I killed it. My president was there. He was extremely proud of me. I did not get to see the other presentations. You go into the room, you present, and you leave. The next person goes in. And so you have a designated amount of time. And I go in first. I come out. The second person goes in and he's shaking his head to himself. He's just going, I know I messed up. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. You know, I just said, you probably did better than you think. The third person goes in. She comes out in half the time. She just zipped through it. So I know she didn't really cover all the information. And then the fourth person came out, you know, fairly confident. And so what happened was I thought they were going to give the results right away. My president was there, my regional director was there, and everybody said, it's clear that you have done an excellent job. So I'm waiting for the results because I had to drive 3 hours to this location for the competition so I can get back home. And, you know, before it's midnight, and they decide to go to dinner. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do that. Just, you know, let me know what happened. I thought it was in the bag. So what happens, I go back to work. I drive back home the next day and I find out I didn't win. And I'm like, what the, I shouldn't be cursing on here. And it turns out they awarded the prize to the young lady who only did half her time. She didn't even think she did a great job. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm so much better than somebody else. All of us, you know, put our heart and soul into the presentation. But my point is there were sort of extra points awarded to those who stayed around and socialized, right? They went, I'm in sales, you know, so you have to be able to show that you can be around other people. So all the managers are there, they're having a good time, you know, everything is paid for by the company. And instead of me staying and having dinner and continuing to show them more parts of me, I was like, I did my work, I'm out. And I don't want to say robbed. I was taught a very valuable lesson. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go to every after hours thing, but please know that the best way to build trust, this is in any kind of relationship, romantic or friendships or even work, is through vulnerability. My girl, Brene Brown, for those of you who know Brene, she's done, you know, really amazing TED Talks. She's had Netflix specials. She's a phenomenal researcher around emotions, specifically vulnerability. And that is the number one way to build trust, vulnerability. That means you need to be able to share a little bit of yourself with someone else, and they in turn do the same. And so when you do that, it builds trust. And you may have had that happen before. You let a little bit out that, you know, I'm struggling with a divorce. Someone shows empathy and goes, oh, you know what? I've been there. Or my sister's going through that. I feel for you, you know. I was at a meeting. People had to get up and introduce themselves. This one woman, she let out that she was the mom of a special needs kid. She didn't have to say that. We weren't there to talk about special needs kids, but she had a moment of vulnerability. What do you think happened? Do people laugh at her? Do people go, oh, how terrible? Do people take pity on her? No. She ended up having these people come to her saying, oh, I have a special needs kid too, or have you tried this research, or is there any way I can help you? And so the same applies in a work environment. The more that you are able to be vulnerable, again, in little doses, once you learn that you can trust people, the more that they feel comfortable around you, and you will see your energy at work change for the better. So I hope this has helped some of you who, you know, feel like you always have to code switch and go into a different mode when you're at work. By all means, still protect your personal space. But I would definitely give a lot of serious thought to making friends at work. It is beneficial on the employer and the employee side. How was that?
That was wonderful. Applause. You get applause for that. Applause. Fantastic. So I was off screen and you couldn't see my face, but I was like friends with coworkers. Get out of here. They're all snakes. They're all terrible people. They're just going to hurt you when you open up to them. What do you say to those people?
I would say first, yes, there are some people who are snakes. There are some people who are, I don't like to say people are terrible. I like to think people are good, but they might do some terrible things for whatever reason, right? And so you have to be careful with anybody, right? Whether it's romantic, friendship, or a professional relationship, but that is not the majority. The same way you hear people say, oh, I'm not going to date one person. I went on a bad date. That's it. I'm just going to be alone for the rest of my life. That's, to me, not the best way to live. And I would say the same at work. I would say, you open up yourself a little bit at a time, and you can, if you are in tune and you're being your authentic self, you can weed out those people who are snakes and who are not to be trusted, because that's in any environment. And you should keep your radar up for them so you can avoid them. Great point.
Absolutely. I 100% believe that too. It's really just about going out and having these experiences and noticing like, oh, you are a person I cannot open up to. That's good information. You're just one person. It's not everybody. It's correct. Not everybody. So I understand.
If you happen to continue to run into that over and over again, that everybody at work stabbed you in the back, that everybody seems to be evil, that everybody, what's the common denominator there? You might want to do a little internal work.
How dare you? It's me.
To make sure. Yeah. Low battery alert, but I don't want to jump. I know I'm off in like a minute anyway.
Okay. Yes. I wanted you to tell us about your offer that you have for us, and lovely offer. I'm very excited to hear about this.
Oh, you want to put that? I don't know if it's on the screen. I know there's not a QR code. This is a discount on a workbook that I developed called Friendships to Go for those who have trouble sort of stepping out there and making friends. If you go to my website or use the QR code 5starfriendships.org, you get a discount on the journal. The journal is a guided journal. So some of the exercises take less than 5 minutes, and it just walks you through different exercises that get you back out there so you can start taking advantage of all of the good things that come with making friends.
Absolutely. And I wholeheartedly believe in the journaling. I just believe that you need to do that reflection and understand more about yourself. So this is a wonderful deal. Go ahead and scan that QR code and go get the journal so you can build better relationships in your professional life and your personal life, because we need that. We just can't be without people. Can't be without people.
That's right. And if you don't feel personally that you have a problem with that, get it for a gift for a friend. I know we all know somebody who's a little introverted, a little shy. We're always inviting them out. Get it for them and let them use it. They can go at their own pace, or you can go through the whole book, 30 days, and be on a fast track to making the friendship that we all deserve. So thank you for this time today.
Thank you again. Another wonderful round of applause for you, and we will see you next time.
All right.
Thank you. Take care. All right, we're just moving right along. I'm having a really good time. You said I made all these faces. Y'all missed it, but it was behind the scenes, like friends with coworkers. No, that can't be. And I was on TikTok a little earlier. If you're watching on TikTok, you might as well come join us on YouTube. It's also not too late to join the conference. You're watching it live here, but what we do is actually have coaching sessions that are available. You're going to meet some of our world-class coaches and have your own conversation with them. So I'm going to pop this link up here on the screen, or the QR code, if you're interested in joining us, because it seems so flippin' awesome to you. I put the QR code up here in the left. Is it the left for you? Maybe it's the left for you, but up there, or you can go to Love Yourself First. You can go to patternsofpossibility.com/events and then find this Love Yourself First. Our coaching sessions take place tomorrow. So it's not too late. And we also have a hot seat coaching session that you can win. You need to sign up today, though. You need to sign up right now and then put your name in the hat for this this coaching session. It's going to be by Carol Boston. It's going to be an amazing coaching session. Carol charges 5 digits for her coaching services, and she's agreed to spend 1 full hour with you, one lucky person. So go ahead and put your name in the hat. Otherwise, enjoy the conference as it is, but you'll miss out on so much more ability and opportunity to focus on what is your potential issue, whatever it is that you're looking for. If you need guidance, if you need support, we have our coaches on deck for tomorrow. All right. With that said, I have another speaker that's coming up. We're going to talk about your emotional wellness. I don't see Nichole. Are you ready? You maybe show your camera, show your face so that I know that you're ready. So I don't announce you before you are available. So I see that you're here, but I need to see your face. So turn your camera on so we can get ready. I'll give you a moment to do that. But certainly, what we really want to do is bring you the best of Love Yourself First, bringing you the ability to understand more about who you are so you can share with others. If you hit a roadblock, if you're not sure what's stopping you from making those meaningful connections, 3 wonderful coaches are going to help you implement some of this information that you have today. So you may as well sign up for the coaching services. It is much, much more rewarding because these coaches spend a lot of time honing their crafts. All right. Well, I don't see her, so perhaps we'll just talk for a little more. Um, so far, we've learned a whole lot about this Love Yourself First. I mean, I started this whole thing because of my own journey and trying to connect with other people. I don't see you though. Maybe your camera's covered and it's all black. And normally we would be able to see you. We're freezing. I'm freezing. All right, we're going to test this. Oh, see, it shows that you're all black. So there's something going on with your camera. Perhaps maybe you need to be on a different platform, not platform, but streaming service or something. Maybe you need to give Restream access to your video because it's not showing up like you were before. Am I only one? Can somebody type in I'm going to bring you up to the stage. Am I the only one that's seeing this, or is it just because I don't see or hear you? It's all black. Maybe somebody drop in the chat. I see somebody says it's freezing. Okay, all black on my end too. So there's something going on with your video and not quite sure what it is. So maybe hop out and return or something along those lines. Yeah, sometimes this happens, especially with doing these things live. Can't see it either. Okay, great. Michelle or April says can't see it either. So I don't see. Kara says I don't also see. Thank you so much for commenting. Appreciate that. But right now is a good time to take any questions or thoughts or ideas that you might have. I know I'm very excited about learning about this wellness journey overall. You know, I included all of these pieces of wellness for social connection coaching with the Love Yourself First conference. I included all these pieces of wellness because essentially we were just, it comes all together. It's all united. It's all connected. What I understand about myself and connecting, I can't. I don't know what the deal is, but I just can't see you. I think maybe you need to give this permission to see you or something, or maybe you're on a different because you were in here yesterday. It's got permission. Yeah, I should be able to see you backstage, and I don't see you. Okay, let's just move this out of the way. Boom. There we go. And it says that I'm freezing here on TikTok too. You know, I included all these things because when I started my wellness journey, when I started connecting more with myself, one of the things that changed for me was food. Eating food was a different experience for me. I had to change. I changed my diet and stopped thinking so much about eating for pleasure and started eating for wellness, eating to feel good. And when Diane talked about eating those green leafy greens, I love those things. I was a raw vegan for a whole year. Well, I ate some cooked things for a bit. There you go. Now I see your face. I ate some cooked things for a little bit, but it was just I had so much more energy to want to even connect with people. And now, with that said, I am delighted to introduce our next guest. Um, Nichole Myles is the co-founder or the founder of Miles to Go Coaching. She has 20 years in education, nonprofits, and leadership. She leverages her personal resilience and experience as a DM survivor who lost everything. She uses her expertise, which includes a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology, certificates in trauma resilience, DEI, and integrated behavioral health to inspire wellness through story, facilitation, and creativity. She excels at creating what she refers to as the tools to turn trauma into transformation. She has accessible techniques and frameworks that foster diverse, personalized approaches to building and rebuilding and growth. Her TED Talk, Lessons I've Learned from People Who Don't Like Me, which is phenomenal, has been viewed nearly 90,000 times. Whether speaking from the stage, consulting with an organization, or one on one, Nichole uses her modalities to empower her clients to move from survivorship to thrivership. Please welcome Nichole Myles.
Hey Lee, how are you doing?
Fantastic. So glad to have you here. I'm going to scoot off stage. It's all
Well,
yours.
thanks for that vamp while we found out that Firefox doesn't like Restream. That's our issue, but we got over to Chrome. We're here now, so we can do a little mental wellness, yeah?
Yes.
So hi everybody, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Coach Lee, for the introduction and for allowing me to join the conference with some fantastic speakers and information. I am Nichole Myles. I am the founder of Miles to Go Speaking and Consulting, and I get to come and talk to you tonight about this thing I call radical wellness. But before I get to what it means to actually be radically well, I want to enter into a couple of covenants with you. These are things when I work with groups that I always remind people of, and a little bit about what we're here to do and how we're going to spend our time. So really just got 3 of them. The first one is that I do tools, not rules. So everything I'm giving you is set up to be a framework, a guide for you. You've got the inner wisdom to navigate this yourself. And I really question those folks who think, there's one way to do this thing and they've got an answer. So we are tools, not rules here. You're going to insert what works for you as we go through it. Also, I tell my story. I tell my backstory. I am a domestic abuse survivor. Got a lot of extensive background in things. And I tell my story authentically, vulnerably. I don't expect you to have to disclose those kinds of things either if you choose to share, whether you come to a coaching session or you want to ask a question in the chat. It's up to you how far you go with that. This is just one of the ways I share my knowledge with you. I also don't believe in shame. We don't do shame. So I'm going to give you some tools and I'm going to give you some directions and frameworks that might feel a little like, oh man, I don't do that stuff. I used to, but I don't do it anymore. We don't do shame here. We are channeling our Maya Angelou, and we're saying when we know better, we do better, and we forgive ourselves for the places that maybe we weren't acting exactly how we wish we had. So with those 3 covenants in mind, I also want to let you know that mental health journeys and mental wellness can be a little heavy, but all of the things that I'm going to give you can help you navigate the adverse times, and they can be used for those great times and the joy. And what we're really doing with radical wellness is making sure that we can find the joy again, that we process that adversity so that we can find the joy, because it's really all about living the life that we envision for ourselves. You got a lot of information about me in the bio, but I thought we might play a little game of 2 truths and a lie. I know how many of you know that game. We just had a workplace person on, probably sat through a lot of these kinds of get to know you games, but 2 truths and a lie is a fun one. And so I'm going to read 3 things, an A, a B, and a C. about me. And you can put in the chat, jump in, which one of these you think is the lie. 2 are true and 1 is a lie. Okay, so the first one is I played in a rock band that opened for the Red Hot Chili Peppers in the 1990s. That's A. B is my dog and my cat are the same size. And C is I qualified for the Olympics, the Junior Olympics in swimming. So 2 truths and a lie. What do you think you've got? Curious as to what's happening. It's always interesting. People think, they see me as like, you weren't an Olympian, or, who played for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Actually, I'm messing with you a little bit because there are no lies in my list tonight. All 3 of those things are in fact real, as is everything else I'm about to show you. So B was the truth. My cat and my dog are the same size. They are Ray and Luna, and Ray the Jedi puppy and Luna the bean are in fact the same size. But I also did really play for a rock band that opened for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was called Hot Spunk in the 1990s. And I was a backstroker who qualified for the Junior Olympics in 1986. So a really, really long time ago. So with all of that, radically well. Radically well boils down to this when we're talking about mental health. Radically well is the art and the science of being okay, even when the things around us are not, right? We get a lot of, it's going to be okay when, and whatever comes after that, the phrase that comes after that is always some external factor, right? It's going to be okay when I get that promotion. It's going to be okay when we finally get settled in this house. It's going to be okay when my divorce is final, or when my kid gets their act together. It's going to be okay when. And the fact of the matter is that this really hampers our ability to find our wellness and to find our internal wisdom, because we're too busy putting the wellness part, the part where we think we can enjoy life, on the outside of us to some kind of external factor that is frankly unpredictable. And look, if you're going to get in the ring of life and you're going to participate, bad stuff's going to go down. And the only way you're going to get past that is to actually be able to be okay on the inside. When we're dealing with the adversity, right, we've got these, I kind of put them into 4 buckets. I've got, there's these systemic challenges and adversities that happen. These are those really huge things that we're dealing with in our society, that we're dealing with in our communities. These are much bigger than us. We've got these smaller within our immediate circle challenges of financial and lifestyle issues that are happening. This is what goes on in our home. Finances are a huge one. When I work with people, there's a ton of things around finances, and it's because money is power and opportunities and choices. And when we don't feel that we have that, it can be really difficult to find our wellness. Physical recovery is another one, especially if you've been through some traumas. Physical recovery is a thing. It is true in the mental health space. We say our issues are in our tissues. Or if you're familiar with the very seminal work by Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps the Score. This is what goes on. So we've got those buckets. And that last bucket is the mental emotional wellness space that we're all here to talk about tonight. I stay in that space for one really critical reason. And it's that is the space that we can alter, that can in fact affect the rest of those spaces going up. You want systemic change in something, that is big, heavy work. Some of you are out there doing that. Some of you are out there putting your head down and fighting the good fight every single day. You've got to be well to do that. We need you to be well to do that. Radical wellness isn't just for you to be your best you, although you're well worth that and you can. Without radically well people in our communities, we don't get these systemic challenges fought. We don't get improvements inside of our communities or inside of our schools. We don't get big change because people burn out. People get too tired. People get jaded and they move on. So we've got to have some other ways to channel wellness that isn't happening on the outside of us so we can navigate the rest of that stuff. And what I'm going to give you tonight is kind of 4 buckets to do that. I'm giving you the tapas of each of these areas. These are 5-course meal topics, each one of them, but I'm going to give you the tapas of them. So you're going to get a quick overview of how each of these things kind of work. And then we'll talk a little bit more about really working on how you can explore those deeper. So I've got a question that says, is radical wellness grounded in the now and in the present? Radical wellness is grounded in the now and the present, but it's informed by our past. It's informed by what we know about ourselves. And it's informed by something that I call name, claim, and reframe in the empowerment and growth section that we'll talk about. So when we look at these buckets tonight, we're going to go through self-care. This is the thing that we talk about a lot, but I'm going to give you some different, remember I do tools, not rules for this. I'm going to give you a little different take on self-care. Resilience. It's another thing that we've got a lot of conversations about, but I think we're missing the boat in a lot of ways. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about self-compassion. Right? A lot of us are very good about feeling compassionate for the people around us, but not so much about how we talk to ourselves. And that's key in radical wellness. And then the last bucket is growth and empowerment. That's how do we utilize these tools we've got, these experiences we've had in our past, Corey's asked about, to navigate our now, even if it's kind of all gone sideways on us. During the COVID-19 pandemic is when I really started to think about this, because I kept seeing this, you'd see this meme that would come along and it said, you know, we're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. And boy, that's so real, isn't it? Right? And you think about those systemic, those lifestyles, those financial, those physical factors going on. Like we were all in that same storm, but we were not all in the same boat. And my response to that ended up being, we need to build better boats. So that's the deal with radical wellness. Radical wellness is a tool to help you build yourself a better boat, because I believe in you and I know that you can do it. So let's jump into that first bucket, shall we? Our first bucket in radical wellness is self-care. So I think that self-care is one of the most over-marketed terms out there right now. You know, you can give me a thumbs up, you can give me a hey, maybe you're just nodding your head if you also agree with that, because boy, it is everywhere. Unfortunately, the way we've looked at self-care, it's become a marketing tool. It's a thing to sell you things you may not need nor benefit you. And look, that's not self-care at all. That's not self-care at all. So if you are in your head right now thinking self-care and seeing an image of yourself on a cruise or, you know, some big, huge thing, maybe you're in the spa, that's fine. If that's really what you can access, you have both the time and resources to do that. But if you are thinking, when I have those things, then I can do some self-care, stick with me, stay tuned. I know you've had a long night, but you're gonna want this information, okay? Self-care, yes, self-care has become a buzzword, totally co-opted. Self-care has been around in the psychology industry for decades, but it has really become this thing that we are talking about to sell stuff. Wow. Here's the real deal with self-care. Self-care is proactive care for you. The same way that you make sure you eat the right things and that you go to the doctor and that you know, maybe you haven't been doing that. I know I need to do that, but I make sure my kids go to the doctor, make sure they, you know, get their eye exams, they do those things. The way you take care of your body, the way you think about what you put on it, what you put in it, you also got to think about what goes in your mind. And self-care, that's the routine, and it happens every day. It is a thing you need to be doing all the time. This is part of your regular training. So it's proactive. This is the thing we're going to do to keep ourselves in the zone of radical wellness as much as possible. It is a thing that also, it fills you up. Okay. If your self-care, if your version of self-care is emptying you out or numbing you out in any way, it's not legit self-care. Okay. It's not legit self-care. Somebody has sold you a bill of goods. This is, remember, we don't do shame here. It is not self-care if it is causing you an existential crisis or an actual crisis. So somebody's telling you you've got to spend $600 on that spa day and take off a day of work, and you leave that and go back to work and you're still feeling burnt out, and now you're stressed out because you spent $600 and you're wondering why, because you weren't all that relaxed. Yeah, that's not self-care. That's not self-care. Self-care are these little things that we can do for ourselves on a daily basis that help us maintain our own wellness. Okay, it's the things that fill us up. And there are lots of domains for this. You can actually get a free download on my website about how to actually plan out your self-care to fill in all these different domains. But I'm going to give you a couple of really, really simple examples. Your self-care, your daily self-care can take less than 5 minutes. Okay? I bet everybody who's listening to this right now has a favorite song. They have a song that like amps them up and makes them feel really good. Maybe it cycles through. I'm having a little love affair, a little girl crush on somebody named Rose Cousins right now. If you don't know who she is, really great singer-songwriter. And I just love all of her stuff. And so one of my daily self-care routines is that I've gotten myself up and I'm heading to the bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth and I turn on one of those songs, because it's just a little tweak to my day to kind of lift me up. Gives me just a little hint, like I get to do this thing and it's only for me. And that's one of the other rules for self-care. It's only for you. Okay. You'll be doing a thing that you know will make your partner happy, your kids happy. Those are great things to do in life, but it's not self-care if you aren't at the center of it, because self is at the center of this. This is really hard for people who haven't done this. For those of us who are givers and servers, this feels really uncomfortable. Real truth also about self-care is that self-care can push you out of your comfort zone. And it isn't always a thing that may feel especially good the first few times you're doing it. It may feel a little awkward to take that selfish time. Right? We don't like that word selfish. But this is a thing we need on a regular basis. And sometimes your self-care is going to help you release some stuff that doesn't feel so great. One of the best self-care things you can do is, if you happen to like movies, I love movies, finding something that helps you get that good cry, that good release out, and diving in. And so maybe you're not feeling all that great as you're processing that self-care, but it's helping you sit with your feelings and release them. And that is really, really important. It's a great way to use self-care. It's a great way to use media. If in fact you're turning on that television and numbing out for 6 hours because you don't want to feel whatever you're feeling, not so much self-care. It's not going to be good for you. I hope that that's good for you. I hope you've got an idea, a little bit of an idea of what self-care looks like, because I want to move us on to this concept of resilience. So resilience, this is another one of these big buzzwords. Resilience, self-care is proactive. Resilience is reactive. Resilience means something has gone wrong. Something has happened and we're going to have to deal with it. We can go back to our boat, right? We built our better boat. We're sailing in our better boat. Look, if you fall off your boat, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to want to swim to the surface, right? You're going to do whatever you can to get back to the surface because you don't belong in the water. You belong in the boat. That's what resilience is. The actual act of resilience is that swimming back up to the surface. And hopefully You know how to swim. Maybe you had a life jacket on. These are these other tools that I can help you with a little bit later. But when we're being resilient, it is actually the act of being reactive to something that has set us back in time. Resilience also, though, can fill you up. There are healthy ways to be resilient, and we have a real tendency to do this thing where we think that being resilient means being tough, right? Being strong, you got to pull yourself up. We also have a real tendency, both with ourselves and with people around us, to look at somebody and say, oh, you're so resilient. What a great thing that you're just so resilient, and leave them in the water, right? Like, man, if you swam to the surface and the boat's still sailing away, that's not going to be helpful to your growth. That's not going to be helpful to your wellness. So understand that resilience is a reaction. That means that it's probably going to break your routine. That means that you're going to have to make some adaptations to what's going on, right? You're not in your boat anymore. You're going to have to move your body differently. That's just the reality of the situation. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be tough or strong, right? Look, I was a swimmer. I was a swimmer for years. I know how to really power through and do the sprint. But if I ended up off the boat in the ocean, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to float because I'm going to save my strength. And resilience can look like that as well. But real talk about resilience is that this is a skill set. You're not born resilient or born non-resilient. Okay? If anybody's ever told you you're not resilient, that's not true. It may mean you have not had the skills. You haven't had the opportunity to practice resilience, but you can learn to be resilient. And I suggest that when you're looking at resilience, look at it in the same way you look through self-care activities. And again, if you go through my download with self-care, you get to make your own list of what works for you in these areas. Proactively planning our resilience, do an activity called resilience rings, is really, really powerful, because you might not know what's going to happen. You might not know if you're going to fall off the boat or if you're going to run out of food, or you might not know what's going to happen. But look, you're here at this conference. So I know you're out there living life. I know you're out there doing things. And that means eventually something's going to go wrong. It just is. And probably more than once. So being ready for that with the tools to actually react with resilience is really important. And here's why. There's actually some neuroscience to this. So our brains, we have the very back of our brain, we have that thing called the amygdala. That's our lizard brain. We talk a lot about that brain. That's our prehistoric brain. And it's the brain that responds to adversity, I'm going to use the word, I use it all the time in my practice, but it makes people a little squirmish. So squeamish. Take a deep breath, because I'm going to say the word trauma. It's okay. It's really not that bad of a word. But if you experience that, your brain, that amygdala, lizard brain, it takes over. It absolutely takes over. It's just like, we've got to deal with this. Because prehistoric brain trauma was like, we're going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger right now. So prehistoric brain says all other bets are off. There is no time to think about what we need to do or make a plan we are in survival mode, because we've got to get away from whatever's happening. So when you need to be resilient is not actually the time to try to develop the tools for it. Your brain's not actually equipped for that. The frontal lobe, this part of your brain that does all of that critical thinking, it is shut down. Amygdala has said, no, we do not have time to have a conversation with you. We've got to get out of here. So when that happens to you, this is why when something goes sideways and your dear friend, maybe it's your work friend, who wants to help you out, looks at you with a great amount of compassion and says, how can I help? What can I do? And you go blank. You ever had that happen? Yeah. That's because your amygdala is like, dude, like, we're not doing any of this frontal lobes. Like, we're not thinking any of that critical thinking stuff. That's not how this works right now. That's not your fault. That's how it works. So if we can look at these resilience tools and actually come up with, I do a ring. I have a literal physical ring. It's called my resilience ring. I work through some domains that I teach people, and I have tools for my resilience so that when that kicks in and I know I need to be resilient, I can choose something from that to calm that lizard brain back down, to get that inflamed brain back in line and get myself moving again. Because resilience is a pause, and we want to be moving through life. And we want to be moving through this presentation. So we're going to move ourselves from self-care and resilience, right? Self-care, proactive, resilience, reactive, to self-compassion. Now, I don't know how many of you have a problem or an issue with self-compassion. Maybe you're not even aware if you do, but I got to tell you, I do my own work too. And self-compassion, this is the one that's hardest for me. Just was never in my head that I had to do nice things for myself. I had to talk to myself nicely. If you are somebody who thinks things in your head that you would never say out loud to someone that you love, or even maybe to a stranger or someone you didn't like very much, and you were saying those things to yourself, you need to practice some self-compassion, okay? This makes everything so much easier if you can connect with yourself. And so when I'm working through self-compassion, I say this, I remind myself of this because it's been introduced, the concept of self-compassion, it's been introduced to me in this way. You can't love anybody else more than you love yourself. And so I don't want to be self-centered. I go through that whole thing about self-compassion. Feels like narcissism and how selfish of me. No. If I want to give love to the world, if I want to take care of the world, if I want to fight these systemic injustices and rebuild life and give beautiful things to people, then I got to start with myself. I got to start with myself. And so I've got to listen to that inner voice. By the way, you can put it in the chat if you think you know, but whose inner voice is that anyway? Is that really you? When you are flogging yourself for making that mistake at work, or forgetting to get up on time, or not eating as well as you wanted to the other day, forgetting your New Year's resolutions, or what all these things that we really bother ourselves about, whose voice is that? Is it really yours? It's probably not. It's probably something you've heard along the way that you've internalized so many times that it's become part of your voice, but it wasn't you to begin with. So here's what I say to those little voices, right? Those little voices pop up and they're criticism, and they are fear, and they are anger, and they are jealousy. There's all of these little voices that are in there. I'm going to remind myself, those voices aren't really my inner voice, but they are with me. And so the deal is, yes, there it is. It's society and early caretakers who were really trying to control our behavior and telling us what was happening. Those voices, they got in our head. They absolutely got in our head. We were programmed with this. And so I'm going to encourage you to do something a little different to leverage your self-compassion here, which is to make room for them. Okay. When I've got fear playing out for me and it's giving me an earful about all of the things I can't do. Man, I had a hot yoga class today. I go to hot yoga and I love it, but I'm a pretty big girl. I'm not really actually, meant for a hot yoga studio. The woman next to me is definitely meant for a hot yoga studio. And so we call a pose and it's a hard one for me. And I've got fear and criticism all up in my brain, kind of doing what they do, reminding me who they think I am. And my job at that point, the way to be self-compassionate to myself is to say, look, okay, fear, criticism, I hear you. You're here. You're on the journey with me. You are welcome to stand here with me. But back on our boat, you don't get to navigate. You don't get to steer. And you are never going to be the captain of my boat. That's how we can start to work through self-compassion for ourselves. If we are comparing ourselves to others, self-compassion can't thrive. So we've got to make space for it and allow ourselves to say it is okay to be different, to be ourselves, to have our own tools, and to have those thoughts in our head rather than shaming them. The same way we aren't going to shame anybody else, we're not going to shame ourselves either. We're not going to do that with self-compassion. And if we can wrap all of those things together, if we can take good self-care and good resilience and good self-compassion, we can actually move ourselves to this growth and empowerment part in radical wellness. And this is really cool because what happens is all this bad stuff goes on. And instead of focusing on the bad stuff, we're not going to play down the bad stuff. Bad stuff is legit. And when it's bad, you need to say it's bad. When somebody asks you how you're doing and they're a friend of yours, you need to actually answer that question. Like, fine is not a word. Okay, fine is that's there's no emotion on the wheel that says fine. Okay, answer that question. We're going to name what's happening. It's maybe the only time that we don't use our emotional intelligence, which is what we've been leveraging this whole time. Maybe the only time we don't do that is when we are naming what is happening. My car would not start today. I need $2,500 worth of work on it, and I am frustrated and worried about it. Fine. We get to say that. All right. Feelings inside not expressed. Fine. Absolutely. That's excellent. That is an excellent way to look at fine. I'm gonna pocket that one. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna name what's happening, and then we're gonna claim the strengths we have from it. The strengths that we have from whatever that adversity is. We're not playing it down. We're just going to name our strengths, and then we are going to reframe it with our strengths. That's the key. That's how you move. So radically well comes down to this. It's knowing that you can navigate your sea and that your boat is up for the challenge. So I hope you've had a great time. I've had a great time with you, and happy to have been here. I hope you guys have a great night.
This was great. This was fantastic. Very wonderful presentation about how you can. I like the part that I really liked was name, reframe, name, tame, and reframe.
Yeah.
That is really powerful and important to be able to do so. And so I want to thank everybody who's shown up here, who is also sharing some comments as well. If you have any questions, it's the Q&A piece. If you have any questions or thoughts or ideas for Nichole, please feel free to share. Right now, we're watching the chat to see if anything pops up. All right. So on this journey, I mean, when I read your profile, you have definitely overcome a lot of things towards making this journey. How easy was it?
Wow, that is a great question. That's a really great question. April, thank you so much for those kind words. And Teresa, you too. It's really great to have you guys here. How easy was it? Yeah, what a mess. I can really start like that and say, what a mess. I was not prepared for the ways in which life kind of sideswiped me. And so not only was I not prepared, but I think the people around me weren't prepared. I didn't know what to do or what to look for. And so I really stumbled around in the dark for, years. I really did. I couldn't find my way. I spent a lot of time being frustrated. I spent a lot of time being angry. I spent a lot of time in places that in my head that I don't want other people to spend time in. And I'll tell you that what I study actually is something called post-traumatic growth.
Oh.
So post-traumatic growth it's been around for over 30 years. It was coined by two doctors of psychology. I'd never heard it before. And while I was running my nonprofit during COVID, I ran a high-touch immersive children's museum, and COVID-19 happened. So that was a little bit stressful.
Mm.
And I was reading a Harvard Business Review thing, and this concept of post-traumatic growth came up. And I thought, why did nobody ever tell me about this? And it's really about using these past experiences and doing what you mentioned, which is naming, claiming, and reframing how we look at these events to grow from them. That would have made life much easier.
That would have made my life much easier instead of the shame that accompanies with just not knowing what it is to do. And I really like that you said no shame. I like to pull that out too, look at it. Why is it here? And then throw it away. I mean, it's done what it does. It does what it does. It's nice to see it. I recognize it. Now let's reframe it, and it's not necessary to be in the space anymore. So I think that's really, really important. And that's the reason why I started this Love Yourself First conference, is because I had so much shame around not knowing what it is to do. So I'm stumbling in the dark, and I'm believing that somebody outside of me or other people have it figured out. I'm the only idiot who has it figured out.
Yes, right. Like, this is one of the reasons it is so important to have conferences like this. And it's so important to have these conversations. That's why I'm transparent about what I went through, is because right, we all believe that like everybody else has some kind of playbook that we didn't get, or they're in a different league. And it's not. Everybody's stumbling in the dark, which is frightening, and also became really frustrating for me when I learned like we don't need to, because there were tools.
Oh yeah, somebody figured out something a while ago and they didn't tell you.
Yeah. Nobody ever picked up on it.
Yeah.
And I have a whole, I have a theory to, not to digress, but a theory about, why that keeps a lot of us in line, right? If we're too busy trying to survive, it keeps a lot of us in line that way if we don't know the secrets.
No,
now I know
that. Digress. I would love to digress and learn a little more about that. This idea that there are people out there who who figured it out, and they won't tell you. Perhaps they won't tell you. However you want to look at it. Maybe they won't tell you, and they know. And this is me going along in the world, and they figured it out. But they won't tell me, so I have to scrimp and scrounge and suffer to try and figure that out. Is it the belief that? The kind of question that I wanted to ask, I think I wanted to ask a question about the belief of that happening. Like, it sounds like you also believed that maybe people figured it out and they weren't telling you. And then what was that?
Yeah, so I think both. I think there certainly are people. I think there are people who've had these experiences and don't share them for their own reasons, right? I cover that in my covenant. Like, I don't believe anybody's obligated. Bless you. I don't think anybody is obligated to share their inner knowledge. I do think as a society, we are obligated to each other to lift everybody up. And I get really, really frustrated with this idea that we don't do it. And I think we don't do it sometimes because we don't want the competition. We don't want to share that space. We don't want to share that light. And a lot of things, we've got two main emotions as human beings, their fear and their love. So if we don't want to share the light, it's really rooted in fear and not necessarily anything nefarious if you dig down. But we can't operate from that place if we're going to lift everybody up, and we want things to move forward. We gotta operate more from the love side.
I get you. From the love side. And this is we talked a lot about self-care throughout of this. We do want to love others, love ourselves first. This is the thing. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I want to be curious. I'm curious about your thoughts about this. What if, because you couldn't tell me anything. You could not tell me anything. I was dating this person and they weren't treating me well, and I wasn't treating them well either. And we were in this relationship, and people outside would say, you need to maybe not be in this relationship. And I was like, you don't know about our love. You don't know me. You don't know anything. So what would you say to those people like me who's like, I'm just determined to be in the dark. I'm determined to be in that fear. What would you say, and how would you handle that from a self-care perspective too?
Yeah, so that is a really great question, and of course this happens in the domestic violence space all the time,
Mm,
right? This is, where I told her he was bad for her. I told him he needed to leave him, whatever it is, right? We had that conversation and people get angry and frustrated because someone's not ready. And make a distinction. I will say this, make a distinction between unwilling and not ready. Because I think most of us
mm.
are actually not unwilling. We may think we're unwilling, but we're not. We are not ready. And so when you are dealing with that person who doesn't want to hear it, doesn't want to get involved,
Yeah.
I think internally, you've got to look at that as being a place of not ready, especially if that's somebody close to you, because you don't want to be leaving them, especially if it's bad. If they're legitimately in a bad situation and they are not ready, abandoning them is not going to help them. That is a gateway to tragedy right there, because that's the gateway to isolation. Now, if it's you though from yourself and it's starting to hurt you repeatedly, you got to use your words and you got to say, listen, this is getting too hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be here for you. I love you. I care about you. But watching this is too hard for me. And so I'm going to be here. I'm going to be standing in the corner. I'm not abandoning you. I'm going to check in when I can. But for my own well-being, I have to step away from this right now. I have to step away. That is okay. Because remember, if you can't do that, if you don't have that resilience and that response, you're not going to be able to give to everybody else either.
Right, right. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say, but you can't
Absolutely.
continue to see this painful experience, and you get sucked into it, and you want to help, and you put all your time and energy into being up late on these phone calls with them, how they're crying over the situation that happened. You're like, just leave them. You're like, I can't.
Yeah.
And you're losing sleep, and so the next day you're exhausted, and you're not able to take care of the things that you need to take care of. So setting that boundary, making sure that you create that distinction. I really like this distinction, as April had also said, not ready and unwilling and not ready. So realizing that they are not ready and that you need to take care of yourself, but certainly not closing the door as saying, look, I call me when you get rid of him. That's probably not the right language we want to share.
Right, right. Or when you're ready to have this conversation, and you can name what you're doing, right? I see you in pain, and I'm spending lots of time, and I want to help you through this. It seems like you're not ready to hear this. We're not helping each other right now. I'm going to be here when you're ready. I'm going to be here when you're ready. But for my own well-being right now, so I can be here when you're ready, I'm going to step back now.
Right. So I have a question again for you. It's a little more on the personal side, and it sounded like at the beginning you were comfortable with no shame. I'm going to share stuff.
Absolutely.
So, from your own personal experience, has someone tried and saw that you were not ready? Can you tell those people out there, like, what I imagined is I talk about rejection quite a bit, and I talk about how I was just devastated one day when I revealed that I'm a transgendered man, and they just completely stopped talking to me. Their face was like, they stopped talking to me. They moved away and they left the entire venue. Like it was a brand new person to me. They left the entire venue. And some people were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened to you. I'm so sorry for you. In that moment, I was absolutely devastated, of course.
Of course.
But as I grew, this was like 5 years or so ago, as I grew, I understood that, well, I didn't want to be connected with a person who didn't understand me, appreciate me anyway. So when it comes to the hard thing, the hard thing, the split, the way we have to separate from each other, my question is, did somebody separate from you and said, you're not ready? And what was the repercussion, or how did you feel after that?
Yeah. So, gosh, it's happened a lot actually,
Oh,
because, well, to be very honest, so I am a domestic abuse survivor, but it was a little more dramatic than just like we had a bad marriage and things fell away. I had to go into hiding. I disappeared.
oh,
So I literally had police knock on my door one night as a very pregnant woman, and the instructions that I was given was, there's a credible threat on your life and we can't make you leave, but we'd like you to. And so I did, and I disappeared. Um, and I am in many ways like so many other survivors, in that the average domestic abuse survivor leaves 7 times. That was times 6 for me. I had come and gone and come and gone and come and gone. So you better believe that I exhausted people around me,
mm-hmm.
because I had come and gone a half dozen times. And those people, some of them absolutely could not stay with me. It was too much. It was too much to see. It was too much to deal with. And that is really hard in the moment. It's really hard to have that feeling of isolation,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the reasons why I talk about radical wellness and the inner wellness of knowing, like, I'm going to need to do a little resilience work now. Like, I'm going to need that time out, because in the moment, when your whole world is crashing down on you, when everything you know is kind of falling away and you don't have anywhere else to turn, it is those people, and now they're not there too. It can feel devastating. It can feel absolutely devastating to do that. And I did lose people along the way because I wasn't ready. I absolutely wasn't ready to hear it. And even when the moment of going into hiding happened to me, I wasn't ready then either. I was terrified. If that hadn't happened, I probably would have stayed there longer. And the reason that I was doing it, this is, always the big question, like, why doesn't she just leave? I was afraid of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I was afraid of a lot of things. I had painted a picture of my life that I was incredibly loyal to, up to the point of it nearly costing my life. I wanted this particular picture, and I had given up all of these other things. I didn't want to be seen as a failure. I didn't want to be seen as a bad person. I didn't want to be seen as disloyal. I had all of this narrative going on in my head that kept me in this really, really bad place. But when people did leave me, totally just say, like, we're done with this nonsense, that world got smaller and those voices got louder. And that made it much harder. And that's
What
why
voices got louder and what got harder?
Those critical voices, that idea that I had to, like, hang on and stay in this place, got louder and louder and louder, because I was losing things. That was my greatest fear, right? That I was going to lose things. And now I was losing friends. I was losing connections. And so all of the deep, dark secrets that I was afraid of in my abusive marriage, if I say this, if it gets out the front door, these terrible things are going to happen. They did. People left. And so it allowed that fear voice, that critical fear voice, to say, see, this is why you just need to stay in this and fix this, because see what happens if you don't make this look right.
Yeah.
See what happens if you don't make this right. If you don't tell that secret, Coach Lee, if you don't tell that truth about yourself, see, then that person would still be there.
Yep.
See what you did? And it takes a long time to unravel and understand that that's a critical voice. That's not you. That's not you. And what they did was about them and not about you.
Right.
And when my friends left me, that was about them and them not being ready to deal with what I was going through. It wasn't about me.
Right. Right.
So it took a lot of sorting out to kind of get to that place.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was getting to. And I'm glad that you got there, because essentially, you're going to lose things. You're going to lose people. You're going to transform, lose ideas, all of that stuff. And it's going to be okay. So to those of you who are in a situation in which you see somebody who's not ready, take care of yourself. and realize that they're not ready, and they will be fine. They will be okay. They will
It's
be
it's
okay.
it's going to be all right. We call that in post-traumatic growth, we call that loss and limitations.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we don't do is we don't do the toxic positivity thing.
Oh
And so
yeah.
we say, like, you're going to still feel this, right? You're
Yeah.
still going to, gosh, I still miss friends who left me. I loved them. They were my people. Even though some of them were not so nice to me when things fell apart, I still miss them. And I get to say, that's okay. I get to lay that down when I need to lay it down with trusted people and using my trusted tools. I can say, I am missing that right now. I'm feeling like that was a loss right now. And then we do a thing, I call it the Viking funeral. I write it down and then I set it aflame. That's right.
Yes. So Lou, I wanted to ask you about your coaching and how you help people. All of the stuff that you've talked about, of course, is from your own personal experiences, which is fantastic, giving us great information. And I understand that you have some offer for our attendees today.
I do. So certainly a lot of my works, the passion for my work is born out of my experience, but I do have my master's, as you mentioned, is in org psych. It's coaching and consulting concentration, and I'm certified in trauma and resilience, and I'm certified integrated behavioral health practitioner. So I've kind of combined all this expertise and to start to build these frameworks and tools. And I work a lot as a consultant, particularly with organizations, service organizations, nonprofits, educators, folks who are dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of burnout, a lot of high difficult situations. And I work with a lot of survivors. But I also work with people in between. And the offer that I put together for this conference is actually something that I usually don't do. I have a laser coaching package that I typically only offer to my leaders that I'm consulting with. So I've got a consulting package, and I will do laser consulting with my leaders. But this time I brought in the laser consulting for everybody, so that I can actually sit with you and do a laser coaching session. There's 4 of them in this package. So usually I'm $250 an hour for a laser coaching package. So you're getting 4 of those hours. And I have a new online academy, which I'm really excited about, because one of the things when we do with wellness is we don't necessarily want to like have it all out there all the time. So this is a self-paced online academy where you can go in and get the rest of that 5-course meal I alluded to and all of these tools at your own pace. And you're getting what I call bite size. You're getting 3 months of unlimited access to the Radically Well Academy and 4 laser coaching sessions. So the total value on that would be just under $1,400, and I am giving it to this group for $750.
Wow, fantastic. It sounds like a really wonderful offer. Not only do I get support from you to talk about the experiences that I have, but I also get some tools to look at on my own time, which is really, really important, because I can talk to you, but I also want to see, I also want to read, I also want to know on my own time. So it just reinforces that. So if you're interested, I don't want you to miss out on this offer. Go ahead and scan the QR code. And right there at the bottom of your screen, scan the QR code, get onto the coaching services, laser one-on-one coaching sessions, especially for us here at the Love Yourself First conference. And if you'd like to see the rest of the swag bag offers up here, you can scan that code. And once again, it is not too late for you to actually join the conference, especially tomorrow. We're just kicking it off tonight, but especially tomorrow, we're having coaches. You can have your one-on-one coaching sessions. So go ahead, and I'll drop the QR code up here too. If you're interested, if you want to be in the mix and actually talk to somebody throughout this coaching, or actually talk to somebody, like have the information shared to you here today, but you will have somebody help you implement that tomorrow, which would be fantastic. Thank you so much, Nichole. I really appreciate you and your story. Everyone, give her a big round of applause. Woo! Yes, absolutely stunning. Fantastic. Thank you. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Are you having fun? I know I'm having fun. I'm learning so much. I do this stuff for a living, but I continue to learn every single day. I learn from you, sharing your comments, asking your questions, doing the reframe, helping me understand more about things. And I realize that a lot of our experiences are so similar that you are not going to be alone out there. If you feel like you're alone, you are not. There are plenty of people here who feel just the way you do. They feel just the way you do, and they want to connect with you. So go ahead and scan that QR code at the top up there and join the Love Yourself First conference so you can have an actual conversation with them. We have the hot seat coaching and we have other things happening. So I'm going to get to that too. I'm going to let you know what's going on for the next few days, or next tomorrow, actually. Upcoming tomorrow. All right. So let's see what we got here. I think I have them here. Right. Look, I'm very, very excited. I keep talking about the coaching sessions, but we're going to have this panel discussion of our coaches. We have a coaches roundtable panel discussion. So if you're interested in learning more about these coaches, these are the coaches that you can actually have your coaching sessions with. You're going to learn more about them, and you'll be able to pick the coaching sessions, I suppose, after you hear what they say. But they're very good coaches that are going to be able to help you. We're going to talk about loving yourself first and all of those tools that you need to make those connections. And then you'll jump into a coaching session if you bought a ticket to enjoy or learn more about how it can apply to your life directly with one-on-one coaching services. That's fantastic. Doesn't that sound great? It does. Applause. Applause. What do we also have tomorrow is Ariel's going to be talking tomorrow. You saw her earlier, but she's going to be talking about wellness, managing stress, and understanding emotions, overeating, and things like that. So Ariel, you saw her earlier, but she's going to be speaking. You saw her earlier, but she's going to be speaking all by her lonesome. So if you liked her vibe already and the awesome fedora that she had, you're going to love this conversation. You're going to love this. So I hope to see you again tomorrow. And then next, after that, we'll have our coaching sessions, but then I will be speaking. I'm going to talk about boundaries, creating boundaries, strong boundaries, so that you can create more meaningful relationships in your life. You've got to create those strong, meaningful boundaries, and you don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to tell people that they suck or that they have to get out of your life or anything like that. You can be cool, calm, and collected and share with people in a way that they can hear. That's the key. They can hear. And they will respect you. And then after that, we have the Carol Boston, who is going to be hot seat coaching. Hot seat coaching, what that is that one lucky person will get to be on stage right here to actually receive 1 hour full of coaching from Carol Boston. Just imagine, she's an award-winning speaker and coach. And an author. She's going to rock your world, essentially. She's going to give you a full hour of her expertise. So if you want that, get on the link and get into the coaching, get into the Love Yourself First conference. Then after that, we'll have April Yee. We'll have a conversation with April Yee. You saw her earlier as well. She teased you a little bit about her medical emergency that led to open heart surgery. She's going to talk to you a little more about that experience, what led up to it, and how she now overcomes it. You never have to be in a situation where you're overworked and almost to death. You don't have to be in that situation. She's going to share her experience and her story with you and help give you some tools to guide you to be more connected with yourself. Then finally, we have Isis Fabian. Isis Fabian is a coach and speaker. It doesn't seem like I have her up there either. Oops. But Isis Fabian, there we go. I'll just put that in real quick. So Isis Fabian is a coach and speaker. She is also a neurodivergent person, and she's really an all-around interesting being. Her focus is on intellectual wellness today. So when we talked a lot about emotional wellness, but intellectual wellness, engaging in lifelong learning and critical thinking for mental stimulation. That is us. That's going to be the key. So tomorrow, come back for her. She's going to be able to share all that great stuff with you, all of us. It's going to be the the biggest day, because we also have some prizes and some really cool things. The last thing I want to tell you before leaving, because I said that we were going to have prizes at the event, but I want to tease you a little bit with the big one that we have. If we can play that clip, it is about XXO Connect. They have kindly donated us 1 full month of connection and community. You've got to see this video. You've got to see this video. Play the video, please. All right, XXO Connect is a platform. It's a social connections platform. Essentially, it's live. Everything that they do is live. It's like Zoom. You get to talk to people, and there are special rooms where you can connect with people who are talking about, who are going through specific things like divorce, people who want to do breath work, people who want to coach in sports or anything like that. There are specialty rooms and where you can meet people who really vibe with you. And that's the really key thing. It's not about going on to an app and talking to people and not getting any responses. It's real time with real people. So you can get more of a vibe of connection with that. We're going to give away that for free for one person. It's a $99 a month subscription. They're going to give it away for free. And then also, if you decide to renew with this, through this Love Yourself First offer, you'll get it for $59.99 a month instead of the regular $99.99. So it's quite an offer. You want to stay with it. You want to connect with people, make authentic connections. Go and do that. Come to the event tomorrow. We're going to have a great time. It does look really cool. And with that said, I am going to let us go 8 minutes early. 8 minutes early. Thank you so much. Come back again tomorrow. Lots of love, lots of applause, and we'll see you tomorrow bright and early at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. 9 a.m. Central Standard